Hey guys, welcome back to Demons Forever. We are reading episode 16 today, and I am so excited because this one ends on a bit of a cliffy. So, this is a good one. It's a little bit of a shocking moment. Hopefully, you'll be shocked and excited. There are only 6 pages, so it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. And then on Friday, we have our live coffee chat. We are basically counting down the days until the spooktacular begins. So, this is going to be the spooktacular will be the final 13 days of this month. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about what to expect during the spooktacular on Friday. I hope that you will be able to be there. Last Friday, we had a chat about all of my witchy things that I brought with me, including all of my different crystals and things like that. So if you guys really enjoyed that chat and would like to have our Friday coffee chats more themed in that way, let me know. Or if you like just as much just sitting around and chatting about whatever. I think because we've been doing these for a year or so now, there are less and less questions, or if there's questions, they tend to be more just writing questions, which is fine for me as long as you guys still enjoy talking about the writing. I'm fine talking about it as well, but I want to make sure that you guys are enjoying the coffee chat. So if you want to let me know as you're on the live chat or on the replay, to let me know what your preference is for those Fridays. Would you rather have them be themed? Now, during the spooktacular, we are going to have some more themed conversations, so to speak. I have some things that I'm going to share with you that I have been working on that I think is going to be really fun. So let me know if you liked having that sort of witchy themed Friday coffee chat. We've done some before on manifestation or tarot cards or different things like that. So I would love to pull from different things from my books or ideas that I've had. There's just a million possibilities. So if you like the themed chat more than just chatting about where I am in the world or what's been going on in my life, let me know, because I'm happy to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, because I love the Friday coffee chats and I would like for them to continue and just be as successful and have you guys enjoy them as much as I do. So on Monday's episode, we got to see a lot of conversation. So during Monday's episode, you saw a lot of Harper, Jackson, Marianne, Sarra, they're all sitting there in the Essex. They're all sitting in the Crow Village, and they're trying to make their decisions about their plan. And of course, how often do plans really go to plan, right? How often do we make plans and then it all gets executed perfectly? So, something in there is probably not going to go exactly like they think, but what's going to happen when Harper goes to get these ritual items? They've come up with a pretty brilliant plan in terms of what they're going to do. And of course, they're using everybody's best selves. So they're really using Essex's knowledge and his ability to recreate the messenger bag. They're also using things they've learned from demon magic. Angela King is using her knowledge of Brooke and her family and what she knows from being inside the order for so long. And of course, Sarra and Marianne are bringing their own things into, for everybody to kind of use their best talents to create the best solution for the ending of this story. So originally, when I wrote this book, it was part of what I was calling the Peachville High Demon series. That was the original title. And it wasn't until later that I rebranded this series and called it the Shadow Demon Saga. But this was originally the end of the story arc. And as we move into episode 16, we are on chapter 62 out of something like 90, I think, chapters. Let me see if I say here, 97, 92. So we have 30 chapters left, which I know it's ridiculous to have 92 chapters in a book, but I like writing short chapters and I hope you guys enjoy the fast pacing of that. But we're getting into the final parts of the book, close to it. And so you'll start to feel that momentum, not only of the end of a book, but the end of a story arc, the end of a series in a way that then continued on later. So hopefully you start to feel those pieces and those threads start to come together, because when you get all the way out to book 11, which I just published recently, or book 12, which I'm going to be working on soon, or actually have been working on for the past few months, but I'm going to start actually writing rough draft soon, you're going to feel that again, that second close of a story arc and the close of the entire series. And that is one of the challenges of writing this type of long long series as an author where, with a lot of romance series like my Willow Harper books or the Fairhope books, every book is a couple and you get that story resolution kind of at the end of each book. And then it's a different couple and their problems. And for me, those types of books are faster to write because it doesn't involve like book 6 has to build on all the previous books and all of the previous knowledge. Whereas like book 6 now, when I was writing it, was one of the most difficult books I'd ever written because it was taking years of work of my life and pulling it all together in this final book that I wanted to be really satisfying. So hopefully as you listen to it, you can feel those threads coming together and all those things starting to click into place, but there's more yet to click into place. So let's keep going. We are on episode 16, chapter 62, The Old Brook. Because if you remember, Harper is literally inside Brooke's house right now, and she has just found the ritual items. So here we go. I reached into my bag and pulled out 2 of the fakes Essex had created. I picked up the cup-shaped one, then grabbed the real silver ritual cup. I concentrated on recreating every detail of the real cup, then felt the fake transform in my hand. When the glamour was complete, I set the fake chalice in the drawer, careful to set it down in exactly the same place as the one I'd taken. I opened the black case and removed the ritual dagger, replicating it in the same way and putting the fake one in its place. Then I put both of the real items in my bag and closed the drawer. I stepped back and studied the area to make sure nothing looked out of place. I glanced at my watch. Only 5 minutes left. Crap, I still had to find the necklace. I breathed in deep through my nose, letting a calming breath fill my lungs. If I had been able to feel a connection to the stones in the dagger and the cup, I would definitely be able to find the necklace the same way. After all, I'd worn that necklace for years, long before I understood what it really meant. I could tell the necklace was not here in this bedroom. I went back out into the hallway and shut the door behind me. I knew from that first night I'd stayed here that Brooke's room was at the very end of this hallway. If she sometimes wore the necklace to school, there was a good chance I would find it in her room somewhere. As I got closer to her room, I knew I'd been right. The necklace was definitely in there. Her door was halfway open, and as soon as I walked inside, my eyes went straight to the blue stone. I nearly cried out in excitement. Even though the necklace was a symbol of the Order's control over my ancestors, it meant so much more to me than that. All my life, it had been my only connection to my mother. Every time my fingertips touched the stone, I imagined my mother's hands touching the same exact spot. It had always been such a comfort to me through the hard times. When the necklace had been taken from me by Priestess Winter, it had felt like a part of my mom had been stolen from me. Now, taking it back was like taking a part of my life back, my confidence and power. I crossed over to Brooke's dresser and scooped up the necklace, closing my fist around the stone and bringing it to my heart. I secured it around my neck and ran the pendant up and down the chain, like I'd done 1,000,000 times. I reached into my bag and pulled out Essex's fake. It was nothing more than a thick string with a bottle cap attached. A small red stone was glued inside the bottle cap, loaded with just enough power to fuel a glamour for a week. I secured it. In my hands, the fake quickly became an exact copy of the real necklace. I set it on top of the dresser and turned to leave. That's when something under the bed caught my eye. I leaned down and grabbed the small bronze horse, Brooke's spirit animal. It was cool against my skin, and I turned it over in my hand. From my crouched position, I could see there was more hidden there under her bed. Several horse magazines, drawings, and pictures, even a few brochures for veterinary schools. I set the small bronze horse down on the floor and picked up one of the magazines. Brooke had earmarked several of the pages, and I flipped through them, my breath catching in my throat as I came to a beautiful picture of a chestnut brown horse. Brooke had drawn a large heart around the picture. I brought my hand to my mouth, touched by that heart. The night of her initiation, I remembered how we had sat together on the grass, staring up at the fireworks. A nervous Brooke had confessed to me that she had always wanted to be a veterinarian. She told me about her love of horses and how all she'd ever wanted to do was work with animals. I'd thought that side of Brooke had been lost forever, but this hidden stash showed me there was still a part of her that wanted a different life. She hadn't completely disappeared. This was proof that somewhere deep inside, the old Brooke still existed. I stuffed the magazine back under the bed, and as I turned to leave, realized I could just make out the sound of a crow cawing on the roof. Chapter 63. Her Secret Dream. My mouth went dry. What had I been thinking? I should never have wasted a single second looking through Brooke's things. I should have taken that necklace and gotten the hell out of here. Brooke's mom must have gotten home from her run. I didn't know whether to make myself invisible or just hide out here in the bedroom until she'd gotten in the shower or something. I stood quickly and tripped over the small bronze horse just as Laura Harris poked her head through the bedroom door. I pressed my hands tight to my jeans and tried to smile. My ears rang and my insides twisted with terror. I prayed my glamour was in place. "Brooke, what on earth are you still doing here? I didn't even notice your car was still here." She looked down at her watch. "It's almost 8. You're going to be late for school." Her eyes traveled up and down my body, finally resting on the horse at my feet. She pressed her lips into a thin line and clenched her jaw. "What have I told you about those damn horses?" She leaned over and snatched it up from the floor. She gripped it so tightly I thought she was getting ready to throw it at me. "You know you're not allowed to show any preference for your old dreams. How many times am I going to have to say it to get it through that thick skull of yours? You're never going to be a veterinarian." I didn't dare say a word. I stared down at the floor, letting my hair fall around my face. Mrs. Harris stepped closer to me. Her shirt was covered in sweat, despite the fact that it was still relatively cool outside this time of morning. She must have been running hard. "Do you want to mess this whole thing up for us?" she said, her voice low and tense. "I will never forgive you if Priestess Winter chooses a different family for this town, Brooke. I swear to God, I would disown you and never look back before I would give up our chance before taking control of this town." I struggled to breathe. How could a mother say that to her own daughter? I lifted my chin and looked her straight in the eye. No wonder Brooke was so messed up. "You know how important this is to me and your sisters," she said. "It should be important to you too. I never want to see another horse in this room. Do you understand me?" I nodded, swallowing back my desire to give this woman a piece of my mind. Was power really more important to her than her own daughter? "Good," she said, softening her tone and relaxing her shoulders slightly. She placed her hand on my arm, and I had to stop myself from pulling away in disgust. "I know it's been hard for you ever since Mrs. King was killed, but that was a necessary loss. She was a traitor. You understand that, don't you, sweetie?" I struggled to hide my surprise. Killed? What had they all been told? "Priestess Winter says it's only a matter of time before we get Harper, too," she said. "We just have to hang in there a little bit longer, and the whole world will be at our fingertips." I had to get out of there before I gave myself away. I couldn't sit here and listen to this woman talk about how excited she was to have me killed. "I need to get to school," I said. "I'm late." Mrs. Harris leaned in and gave me a hug. I stiffened, unable to help myself. She pulled away and let out a disapproving breath. "Fine," she said. "I'll see you after school." I headed for the door. "And when you get home, I expect you to spend some time getting rid of all this horse stuff. You hear me?" I gave no answer as I walked down the hall, through the living room and out the front door. When I'd entered the house earlier this morning, I'd felt nothing but anger when I thought of Brooke. Now, after hearing her mother's harsh tone and seeing how she still held on to her secret dream to be something other than what the order had planned for her, I left feeling sadness and regret. Brooke was far from innocent, but I had to remember that in many ways she was just another victim of the Order of Shadows. With a heavy heart, I disappeared around the corner of the house, out of the view of the cameras. I looked up to make sure Marianne was still on the roof waiting for me. When her blue eyes met mine, I let my image fade and flew high up into the air, following the crow back toward her village in the trees. I expected Jackson to be waiting for me in the entrance, but as we crossed through the barrier and dropped our magic to go back to our normal selves, I noticed the rest of our group had gathered on the porch of our gray house at the end of the block. I squinted, wondering what in the world was going on. As I approached, I saw what had stolen everyone's attention. A girl wearing black leather from head to toe, her dark hair tied in one long braid that fell down her back. She had a blue band tied around her wrist. "Leah," I said, setting the bag down on the steps. She raised an eyebrow, a smirk on her face. "Princess." I cleared my throat. I guess Jackson had already explained that whole thing to her. She seemed to have taken the news well. "You've come to fight?" "No," she said, her face hard and serious as she turned. "I've come to warn you." 64. A beat too long. Fear rippled through my bloodstream. "Warn us of what?" I asked. "Does this have to do with the resistance?" She crossed over to the porch railing and leaned against it. "They're really going through with it," she said, her eyes focused steadily on Jackson. There was panic in her voice. "I tried to talk Andros out of it, but he's become completely obsessed. Ever since that hunter got into the underground and almost killed his daughter, he's been talking about wanting to start a real war against the Order. He wants to hurt them, and he doesn't care who he has to kill to make it happen." "Slow down," Jackson said. He pulled a chair out for her and motioned for her to sit. "Start from the beginning. I thought we'd convinced him not to go through with any attack against the gates." Leah took a deep breath and waved away the chair. "After you left, he started bringing up his old plan more and more in our meetings," she said. "He said destroying the gates was the only answer to bringing down the Order. You've heard all his arguments 1,000 times." She was still talking to Jackson as if it were just the two of them sitting there. He may have heard Andros's arguments, but the rest of us hadn't. We only knew what little Jackson had mentioned to us earlier. "Not all of us have heard it," I said. "Give us some idea of what we're dealing with here." Leah looked around, really looking at me for the first time. She didn't exactly look thrilled to see me. "Andros and many of the others in the Resistance believe the best way to destroy the Order of Shadows is to close the demon gates," Leah explained. "If all the gates were closed, the Order would have no way to bring more demons access across to this world. Andros thinks it's the best way to end the war." A chill ran up my spine. I lowered myself onto the top step. "But that would also mean killing everyone connected to the gates," I said. "You're talking about thousands of lives, maybe hundreds of thousands, humans and demons." "Yes, but Andros sees it as a necessary loss," she said, "a one-time sacrifice to save our world forever." "I thought we'd convinced him to look at other ways of fighting the Order," Jackson said, "like only going after the High Priestess." "I thought so too," she said. She pushed off of the railing and paced the length of the porch. "But after what happened with the hunter, he went right back to his old way of thinking. Seeing his daughter captured really scared him." "I saved her life," I said, frustration seeping into every fiber of my being. "So his response is to kill me and everyone like me?" "What happened with the hunter?" Angela asked. "When Harper was living in the underground, a hunter tracked her and managed to get inside," Jackson said. "She held Andros's little girl captive and threatened to kill her unless they turned Harper over." Just thinking about that day brought my anger rushing to the surface. "The hunter never would have gotten inside if one of Andros's most trusted men hadn't betrayed him," I said. "Yet he still blamed me for her being there. And you know what? I could have run. I could have gone out the back door before anyone realized it, leaving his daughter to pay the price, but I didn't. I chose to fight, risking my life and Erden's life to save them. Now he's going to repay me by coming after primas like me? By murdering thousands of innocent humans and demons? Regardless of how the hunter got in, it was you she was after, Leah said. If you hadn't come there, she never would have tried to get in the first place. That was a risk their council took when they decided to let me stay, I said. What's his plan now? Jackson asked. He can't seriously be planning on destroying the gates. I tried to talk some sense into him, she said. Believe me, I tried. Only, the more he talked about it, the more the rest of the council started agreeing with him. The commanders of the resistance army were on board from the beginning. They've been looking for an opportunity to fight. It didn't take long before I was outnumbered on the boat. This is murder they're talking about, I said, rage burning like a fiery pit in my belly. Don't they realize that? Like I said, they see it as a necessary evil, Leah said. To them, the demons who have already been enslaved are as good as dead, so killing them doesn't seem like murder. And killing the humans is what? No big deal? I said. Human lives aren't important at all? The humans they would be killing aren't innocent, Leah said. They're witches who chose to join the Order of Shadows. When a witch is brought to her initiation ceremony, she has no idea about the demons, I said, standing. I was too angry to sit down any longer. These women are manipulated and lied to. I'm not saying they're perfect and blameless, but they don't deserve to be murdered. Why did I feel like I'd had this same argument 30 times? Why couldn't people understand that just because a witch was a member of the order didn't mean she was evil? No one wants to go around killing witches and demons without purpose, Leah said. Andros believes it's a smarter way to attack, a kind of sacrifice for the greater good. Destroying the gates will weaken the order's numbers significantly, and it will also keep them from rebuilding. Eventually, once all the gates are closed, it will bring them down completely. I narrowed my eyes at her. You sound like you agree with him. She groaned. This is not easy for me, she said. I wish there was a way to keep my people safe without killing anyone, but the order makes that impossible. Until we close these gates permanently, they'll continue to find a way to kidnap our kind and turn them into slaves. What other options do we have? We have the chance to possibly reverse the ritual that created the gates in the first place, Jackson said. What? How? Leah asked. Didn't Andros tell you? He asked her. He gave us a diary before we left the underground. In it, there are instructions on how to basically undo the connection that holds a demon gate open. We're pretty sure if we can perform this spell, we can free both the demons and the witches tied to any gate without killing any of them. I don't understand, Leah said, turning back against the railing. If Andros had access to a spell that could free the demons, why didn't he tell us? Why didn't he give it to you instead of testing it himself? Why did he give it to you? Maybe he didn't really believe it would work, Jackson said. Or maybe he just wants to kill everyone, I said. Who knows? Maybe he gave us the book to give us one last chance to change his mind, Jackson said. He didn't give us much time to follow through with it, but maybe that was his reason for passing the book off to us when he did. I closed my eyes and tried to still the pounding of my heart, as if there wasn't already enough riding on this reversal ritual. When Andros had given me the book, he said he felt my destiny was tied to it. What a load of crap. He hadn't even given us 6 months to try it out. How long do we have? Leah sighed. Not long, she said. Andros has already activated the first part of his plan. As we speak, teams of assassins are gathering information about primas all over the southern half of the United States. They're planning a coordinated attack that will go down in 4 days. I crumpled back down onto the stairs, hanging my head in my hands. Only 4 days. My head pounded. This can't be happening. Our timeline had just been bumped up another few days, and we had already been stretched too thin. How long have you known about this? Jackson asked. 2 weeks, Leah said. I tried to get word to you sooner, but you don't understand what it's been like for me. After Jericho's betrayal, Andros watches us all like a hawk. He's become so paranoid about every move we make. He didn't even want me talking to Marianne anymore because she's human and he doesn't trust her. He's completely obsessed, not wanting to let any of his top council members out of his sight, even for a minute. Then how did you get away long enough to come here? I asked. Leah swallowed, her jaw tense. She turned to meet my eyes, then paused, her silence stretching out a beat too long. Because I agreed to be the assassin who kills you. Dun, dun, dun. So a little bit of a shorter episode today in terms of the actual numbers of pages. We had 6 pages today. Let me look and see for next week. I cannot believe we're getting so close to the end now, just a few more weeks to go. And of course, during those last couple of weeks, so we only have 7 episodes in the next one or 7 pages, and then 9 pages for next Wednesday will be a little bit longer. So that'll be today is episode 16. So we have 17 and 18 next week. And then we have 19 and 20 the week after that. Then the final finale week will be the last week of October, with episode 21 being pre-recorded and episode 22 being our final live episode. And that will be part of the Spooktacular. So we've got lots of fun things coming, and I will talk to you guys about this a little bit more on Friday during our coffee chat. I honestly cannot wait. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please go ahead and take a second to subscribe. But even more importantly, please take a moment to hit the like button down below to let YouTube know that you're enjoying these videos so that they will recommend them to other people. Also, if you are friends with anybody who is looking for something great to read, it is so helpful just to pass along the name of this series. Let people know that the first 3 books in this series are free in multiple places. So you can read them for free over on Wattpad. You can download them from Google Play, Amazon, Apple, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo Books. And you can also listen to them for free here on YouTube. So I would love for you guys to help spread the word and share the love of this series so that we can get even more people reading it before this final book comes out. George and I are spending a lot of time. So I'm recording all of these episodes all at once, kind of, even though you guys will see them over the next few weeks, so that George and I can really go into a little bit of a bubble to work on the plot for not Demons Forever. That's the book I'm reading right now. For book 12, because I am almost ready to start writing, and I'm hoping that for NaNoWriMo coming up, I'm really going to be able to hit the ground running. And just to let you guys know, I've talked about this before, and I know that we have a large group of people here in our live streams and the people that watch these who are writers, but some of you might have always had an idea inside of you or thought about maybe writing. If that is you, definitely give NaNoWriMo a shot. I know it sounds like a funny name, NaNoWriMo, but it stands for National Novel Writing Month, and it is the month of November every year. I've been doing this since 2006 or 2007. I think it's 2007. I've been doing it. So many years now I have been participating in this, and I am passionate about it. I am on their writers board, and I just love it. It has made such a difference in my life. And what it is basically, it's a challenge to write 50,000 word novel in 30 days. And so you have to write 1,667 words a day, or you have to write the 50,000 words over the course of the 30 days to win. But even if you don't win, nobody's judging your progress. Nobody's reading your book. It's just a challenge against yourself to see if you can do it. But for me, that was pivotal. And the book that I wrote during my very first ever NaNoWriMo was called Into Darkness. And it's a book that I never published, that I never actually even finished, but I got my 50,000 words, and it was a turning point in my career, because I really felt like before that I was thinking, I don't know how to write a book. I don't know how I'm going to sit down. How am I going to learn everything? How do I put a story together? I had tons of ideas, but I didn't really understand, even though I had been a reader all my life, how to take an idea and turn it into a novel. And every time I tried, I was so stuck in my head of this isn't good enough, this isn't coming out right, that I was struggling for months and months and months. And it wasn't until I finally sat down and said, okay, I'm going to try this challenge for 50,000 words in 30 days. And I didn't have time to get stuck. I was going to fail if I got stuck. So I just kind of got out of my judgment zone and said, okay, I'm just going to have fun with this. And every day I sat down to write, and I wrote 50,000 words, and it wasn't good enough to be a story that I put out into the world, but it was the first time I proved to myself that I could actually, if I just made the decision to sit down and write, that I could actually put a story together. And the only person who's ever read that story is my husband, George. And all he said was, where's the rest of this? This is so good. And so it's like, even my own judgment that it wasn't good enough, it was still really good to him. And who knows, maybe someday I will read it here for you guys live and I will finish that story. But for me, it was more about just proving to myself that I could do it. So if you've ever been interested in doing it, it's a really fun thing, and the community is awesome. And we're going to be hanging out on Discord. If you want to come join us, the link to join the Discord is down below. And I also have a second channel here on YouTube called Heart Breathings. I will post a link for you down in the description box where you can go and check out my most recent videos about Preptober, which is the month of October where we all are prepping or getting ready for NaNoWriMo to come in November. And then throughout the month of November, I'm going to have daily vlogs, like behind the scenes, day in the life, that you will find interesting even if you're not a writer. So come follow me over on Heart Breathings as well. I really, really want to get to 50,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So I would love for you guys to come over and join me on that channel as well. I will have all those links for you down below. All right, you guys, have an awesome Wednesday, and I will see you on Friday for our coffee chat. Bye for now.